All right, so thank you so much everyone for joining us today. Good morning and welcome. And we're delighted to have you with us for the session of Mahara ePortfolio. And Mahara, as everyone knows, or perhaps that this is your first time, is an electronic portfolio platform designed to support learning, reflection, and professional growth. And Mahara allows individual and organizations to create a wide range of portfolios, whether to document your learning journeys over time, to showcase skills or competencies, to support assessment activities, to present projects, and everything can be done in a structured and meaningful way. And for today's session, we'll explore how Mahara can add values to both learners and institution, and especially within a broader learning platform ecosystems. And for today, we are honored to have with us Christina. Christina is the project lead of Mahara open source software. So welcome on board, Christina, and she will be sharing insights into the key benefits of using Mahara, practical use cases, and how it can be seamlessly complement to your existing learning platforms. And once again, thank you so much for joining us. And without further ado, I'll give the mic over to Christina. Christina, over to you.
Thank you so much, Isa, for organizing this webinar, the first one, at least that I'm attending in 2026. So also happy belated New Year to everybody here in the room. And I'm very happy to be presenting at this webinar that Pukunui Malaysia, who are a Mahara business partner, are organizing so that we can have more conversations around portfolios also in your part of the world. I am located in Aotearoa, New Zealand, where it is already afternoon. So my Friday workday is going to be a bit shorter than yours at this stage, because most of it has already happened. And so I'm really, really happy to end this week with a webinar looking at giving you an introduction to Mahara, so that if you haven't already heard about it, can discover it for your own portfolio practice. And then if you have any questions, if there are quick ones that come through in the chat, please, I'll see that I can answer them directly, or as Isa had said earlier, I believe before the recording started, questions will also be answered in the blog that Isa and her team will be publishing, and we will also make the recording available afterwards. You already have access to the slides that you also see here on screen, and we'll also share those afterwards, because there are quite a number of links in there that you can then click and explore on your own in order to find more resources, get deeper into the topic of portfolios, and then also, chat to your Pukunui Malaysia team if you have any questions, or also join the community to talk things through. Now, what I would like to start you off with is that today I am going to talk about portfolios in general, but always with the background and with the baseline of Mahara and what is possible in Mahara, what people are doing with Mahara, what Mahara can be used for. We are actually celebrating our 20th anniversary later this year. So the project was founded in 2006 here in Aotearoa, New Zealand, and Catalyst IT, the company that I work for, has been the main contributor to Mahara from the start. I myself had started with Mahara in 2007, 2008 in Europe at a university, and then moved to New Zealand to work with the development team in the middle of 2010, and so have been working with Catalyst now for over 15 years on Mahara, but also initially on Moodle. So I do still have residual Moodle knowledge, which is very helpful because we do integrate with the platform, and therefore can also always make sure that we are keeping both platforms in mind when we are looking at the entire learning ecosystem, because often we do have the connection with Moodle for submission of portfolios in particular. And so before I continue, I would actually like to know from you very quickly, and that can just be a +1 in the chat if you like, what you are interested in. Are you interested in assessment for learning? Are you interested in continuous dialogue through feedback with your learners? Do you want to prepare your students for their future, for their career, for employment? And are you also interested in lifelong learning? If any of these 4 points, even just one of them, interests you, then you're right here in the session today, because that's what a portfolio can offer us. We have lots of possibilities. Now, the second question for you, so that I get a bit of an understanding of where you are coming from, is I would like to know, what is your portfolio knowledge stage? So kind of if you're looking at it from a butterfly perspective, are you in the X stage? You kind of heard what a portfolio is, but have not really explored it. And that's why you are here today in the webinar, because you just want to learn more about it. Or are you in a caterpillar who has been munching away, has been reading things, has been looking at things, has maybe already joined a previous webinar somewhere, or might have already had an initial conversation for a course or within the institution. So kind of the knowledge acquisition stage. Or are you in the stage of the chrysalis, where you've absorbed all the information that you can hold at the moment, and you're digesting it. You're kind of thinking about what you want to do next, how to go about it. You might have already started with a small portfolio activity. You might have had conversations with your colleagues about them. Or are you already a butterfly, that you've done all your investigation, you've thought about your ideas, you've created your activity, and now you're ready to share them with your students, to have your students create portfolios? Where are you at? So in the chat, we've got 2X in the most positive sense, that they are really, really at the start of the conversation of the portfolio journey, that you're right there. We all have a caterpillar, so somebody who's already exploring things, munching away on the knowledge, trying to absorb as much of portfolio energy as they can get. And we have another caterpillar. And then we have a bunch of people who probably haven't yet made a decision yet at which stage they are. So if you're in any of these stages, I do have something for all of you today. Because if you're still in the X stage, then you'll just kind of immediately jump into the caterpillar stage, because you'll get a lot of information today. You'll get a lot of things to think about. If you're in the caterpillar stage, you get some ideas of what you might like to explore further, or how you might like to include portfolios into your teaching and learning. And then if you're in the chrysalis stage, there might still be some things that you would like to absorb and think about before you bloom entirely into this wonderful butterfly. Okay, so we've mentioned that Moodle and Mahara can be connected and can form a learning environment. And so you might wonder, well, I already have Moodle. Moodle offers me so much. There are so many possible activities that I can do in there. Why would I need a portfolio? Well, the portfolio differs, in my perspective, quite a bit from a learning management system, because we always put the student into the center of attention. And actually, when the Mahara project started in New Zealand, the premise was that it is a complementary tool to the LMS, because it allows students to decide what of their learning they wanted to keep for themselves, so in terms of learning evidence, and also on what did they want to reflect on. Because oftentimes when we do a multiple choice test or participate in forum conversations, there are interactions or we are testing our knowledge. However, not all the time do we actually reflect on that, or we might not really want to keep any of that or can keep any of that evidence. And because some of those work products that students do while they are at university, or also if you're in an organization that supports learning, then if everything is held within the LMS, at some point it might get lost, might get deleted, whereas the portfolio is there where all that personal learning evidence can be held and where the learner decides what is important to them and what they want to keep. So we always have that learner in the center of the attention. And Mahara is a very flexible portfolio platform. So what we can do is we can support learning activities, so a learning portfolio. So the portfolio is primarily used for reflecting on what has been done. So if you're looking at a very common reflection framework of what, so what, now what. The what is there to kind of summarize what the learning activity was. The so what is what we have learned from that, what we want to keep from it, what we noticed during that learning event. And the now what is looking into the future and saying, okay, now that I know what I had done and I reflected on it, knowing kind of what I might want to improve, or what I could improve, what I want to keep the same, what is it actually that I want to take on further for the next time that I might come across the same activity or a similar activity. So really having that these reflective questions and the reflective mindset. So that is what often a learning portfolio is about, that we are just keeping all of that. Since most of you are probably at a university, assessments are very important, and they are kind of the lifeblood, and oftentimes students do always want to have a grade. And so Mahara also supports assessment portfolios. And that is in particular then where the connection to Moodle comes in, where portfolios created within Mahara can be submitted into Moodle through the regular Moodle assignment and then accessed by an instructor or by a lecturer or tutor, where they can then assess the portfolio, provide feedback, either formative or summative feedback, and then the grade is immediately stored in Moodle so that all the grading information is kept in one place. But Moodle does not really have any good portfolio tools, and therefore that's why we are using Mahara in order to create portfolios, in order for the learner to decide what they want to put into the portfolio and how they want to create that portfolio. A next type of portfolio that we support is the work integrated learning portfolio. So that is a type that becomes more and more important because often universities now require students to do internships or practicums, be that just a couple of weeks, a month, or maybe longer. And so while the students are away at an internship, the university, of course, doesn't quite see what is happening while they are away. And so the portfolio can be used for that feedback loop, for the students to have activities during their internship where they collect learning evidence, where they collect what they have done, document what they have done, and reflect on that. And then a tutor could have access to that and give feedback on it. Therefore, staying in touch with the learner while they are on an internship. Many of you might actually know the Showcase portfolio, even if you haven't done any other portfolio work. And maybe you've even created one yourself. Because Showcase portfolios or presentation portfolios are often used for job applications. because these days it's often not enough just to have a resume or a curriculum vitae, but as employer, we do want to know, well, what's the evidence? Show me what you have done. Show me the code, in our case of a software development company, or show me the designs that you have worked on, so that I have a better understanding of the work that somebody can produce, and also, of course, of the processes, so that I can see that they have been learning throughout their career, that they have improved what they are doing. And all of that can be in a showcase portfolio. And last but not least, we also provide functionality to support professional certification portfolios. So those are portfolios of, say, teachers or doctors or nurses or pharmacists who have competency framework, or who work with competency frameworks, where they need to demonstrate that they have achieved a skill or a competency. And they need to document that. And then often, of course, within competency frameworks, it is already included that there's also a reflective element. And so Mahara supports professional certification portfolios as well, because we do have competency frameworks built in, or rather the functionality to create competency frameworks, because of course every country, every profession has a different framework. So one that might work for us here in Aotearoa would not work for you in Malaysia or in any other country where you might be dialing in from today. And therefore, we are flexible enough to allow the creation of competency frameworks, allow for the creation of tracking progress over time, and then also sign off on that, receive feedback on it, and also visualize that progress over time. And so if you're looking at these 5 different types of portfolios now as one, you can see that they are overlapping. And that is intentional, because evidence that, for example, has been collected and added to a learning portfolio could very well be used in an assessment portfolio or in a showcase portfolio. So by using an electronic portfolio platform like Mahara, you can mix and match your learning evidence without needing to make yet another copy, because a file sits already online or a journal entry already sits online, and therefore it can be repurposed in a different context, in a different type of portfolio. And so within your portfolio space, you can create as many portfolios as you like. You can remix them, you can take items out, you can add more things depending on with whom you would like to share that portfolio. Do you have any questions so far?
I mean, all good so far
Yes.
on my side. Participants, if you have any questions, you can start putting your questions in the chat.
Yeah.
I don't see any questions for now. Yeah.
I don't see any either at the moment. So let's continue maybe to a couple of examples that I can show you. And before the recording, I gave a little activity to everybody. If anybody recognizes where I've taken these photos that you see occasionally, please do feel free to put it into the chat, because maybe we had been at the same places. And yeah, so feel free to kind of exercise your photo recognition muscle as well. But on to examples. What I can show you is public portfolios. And if you went to the live link that I had shared earlier, or if you want to look at these examples later on, we will have a link to the actual slides then as well, so that you can go through them at your own speed. You can click the image or click the link at the bottom in order to get to the example and see the full page, and also navigate through the entire portfolio, because this portfolio here in this case actually consists of 5 pages altogether. So this is a student portfolio at the University of the Arts London. They call their Mahara site workflow. And that is very intentional because as an art school, the university does work with a couple of different portfolio platforms. One that is pretty much needed by every designer. Every designer needs to have a portfolio within that Adobe platform in order to also show that they can produce in that platform. However, for assessment purposes, they do use Mahara because that is more of a note-taking system for them, a platform that also connects to the Moodle site, therefore can be used for assessment because the grades can be put directly into Moodle. And the portfolio can be submitted to Moodle. The portfolio can automatically also be archived once the grading has finished, so that the university can keep a copy of the portfolio without needing to ask the student, hey, can you please make a copy for us? And so here you see that the student has worked quite a bit with images and also text. They created a portfolio that consists of multiple pages so that you can step through the portfolio and see the reasoning that the student had made. The second portfolio is also from the University of the Arts London. It also consists of multiple pages. And here the student has also aligned the portfolio content a bit more using a 3-column layout. The earlier one had a 2-column layout. Students can also add video and audio. So if you do have a video already online on one of the video sharing services, you can embed that. Or you can also upload a video directly into Mahara and then play it directly from there. So we have lots of different options to work with multimodal portfolios so that a portfolio is not just text, but also has visual and audiovisual components. Here's an example from Dublin City University in Ireland. In this case, the student has a very clean look of their portfolio, provides some background information, created or uploaded the Venn diagram, and then goes also into the reflection and summary of their tasks that they had done. And again, it is a slightly different layout than we had seen before. All of these portfolios you can explore on your own. If you actually go to the homepage of the University of the Arts London of Workflow, then you can click any image and a portfolio will be shown to you. And so there's a lot of visual content there. Also, Dublin City University has a lot of publicly available portfolios on its help page that you see linked at the bottom of each portfolio as well, and so allows you to explore them further. Now, here is one portfolio from Teresa McKinnon. She used to work at the University of Warwick. And don't worry that you can't read the text. That is intentional. I do not want you to read everything that she had written in her professional development portfolio, or professional certification portfolio, actually, in this case, because this portfolio she created for her review when she was already a certified member of the Association of Learning Technologists. And I really love her portfolio because she uses what we call portfolio language. So, for example, she says a highlight. In the portfolio, you do not put every single thing that you have ever learned, but you curate over your learning experiences and you pull out the one that demonstrates best what you want to show, what you want to talk about in this particular portfolio. She also has memorable moments that she included through saying the point at which I realized. So she had this aha moment, and that is the one that she includes in her portfolio because that best demonstrates her learning and her progress. She also says, I revisited that is very often what we do in portfolios. We are not just looking forward or documenting what had happened, but we are going back, we are reflecting on something and seeing, okay, so now the thing that had happened, how does it impact my way forward, either in the same area or in a different area, so that we are transferring that knowledge. So we are explicitly making connections between different learning experiences. But because learning does not just happen in a vacuum or just by ourselves, for Teresa, there was also feedback and mentoring, which was very helpful. So we learn with others through conversation with others. And therefore, that is a big part of portfolio practice. And all of that really culminates in what is often referred to as folio thinking. So here on screen, you have a definition of what folio thinking is, and it is a process of engaging in the collection, organization, reflection, and connection that leads to a person's ability to speak intelligently and concisely, i.e. storytelling, about one's learning experiences, what they mean and their value, and how the experiences relate one to each other. So that is a definition by Vicky Suter, but the idea of folio thinking was established by Helen Chen at Stanford University. And so here we have collection, organization, reflection, and connection, essentially storytelling, in order to make connections between different learning experiences. And that really nicely shows kind of what is happening in the portfolio. It is not just knowledge acquisition. The portfolio is very much digesting what we have learned, making sense of it, and then also applying that knowledge. And so for Mahara, what I came up with once was 5 activities. Also not entirely on my own, but in conjunction through also conversations with others, in particular at one event a few years ago, where we talked through some of the activities that you can do in Mahara, and then a 5th one popped up. So that learning is always learning in community. And so the first activity that we have when we work with Mahara is actually outside of Mahara. Because first we need to create the learning content. So we need to have an experience. We need to do something that we want to keep. And then we put it into the portfolio. So that is, we are collecting things. We are essentially becoming gatherers and hunters and gatherers. You can collect everything, and everything means files that you can upload, or you can write text, you can write journal entries, keep essentially notes of what you have learned, and then use those later to arrange in a portfolio. And that is the 3rd step, which is the curation. You curate over what you have. So kind of like a museum curator. Because if you think about a museum, you have the archives typically in the basement or in an annex building. And when you have an exhibition, you hardly ever see everything that a museum has in its archives. You see a small part of it because the curator decides what is shown, what works best together, what the theme is of an exhibition that they want to achieve, and that they also want to showcase the artwork or any other items that they have in their archive on. So we are never ever having access to the entire archive unless maybe there's an open door open house day, because usually we have a curated view of something so that we can stay focused on what we're supposed to see, why we are there, why we are the audience. The next activity that we then can do in Mahara is to have a conversation with others. Because learning often doesn't happen just within our head, but by talking through something with another person. So on the portfolio, you can leave comments. You can leave comments for the entire portfolio, or you can leave comments on an individual image or on a video or on a journal entry. So also to be able to narrow down what the comment is, or for what the comment is. And also, therefore, giving specific feedback. And once you've given the feedback to somebody, that learner can come back with another comment. So you can have conversations on the portfolio, which then enrich the learning. And lastly, we can also connect with each other on the portfolio side, on Mahara in particular, because we are having groups that can be set up. And within groups, you can work together on a portfolio. So quite a few years ago now already, a university in Europe had done wonderful work with group portfolios. And so they created templates for their students, and the students then filled them in, expanded on them, wrote journal entries collaboratively, or one student wrote one and then another student another one, and they shared all of that in a common portfolio. So really also making it possible to create little communities of practice, communities of learning, and work on a project together and then demonstrate that progress as well as the result of it. So those are the activities that I find kind of 5 C's. C's, so that it is create, collect, curate, converse, and connect. Works really well in English. It doesn't quite work so well in German, which you by now might have figured out where my accent is from. But it is really very easy in English to remember those 5 C's and see them within the portfolio process. And you might, from a conversation, go back to the curation, or you might collect more within the portfolio to further enhance a point that you want to make. I had already mentioned the museum as a metaphor for portfolio work. So here we see the basement at the bottom, where the curator looks for all the artifacts that they want to pull out and then bring up into the museum. And then within the museum, you have different rooms. And so you can imagine a portfolio to be one of those rooms in which you show a curated set of artifacts. And some of those rooms might be open. To other collections, you might need a ticket. And Mahara allows for that as well, because you as the learner decide with whom you want to share your portfolio. So you can make it public for the entire world, or you can say only a particular group of students or students and an instructor should have access to it. Or you might really lock the door and only open it 1 hour a day, and also only for a specific group of people. So you have full control over that in your portfolio. Now, we've talked a bit about the past of Mahara, but I also want to show you kind of what we are working on going forward, because, of course, Mahara has existed for a number of years now, almost 20. And so there has been a lot of development over the course of these years, always refining also thanks to all the conversations that we can have within our community. And so we are continuously improving the platform and also existing functionality within it. And so this is a very busy slide. So do please feel free to click on it. And then once you have the deck, or if you have the slides already open, and you'll be taken to a page where there is information also in a more accessible way if you wanted to highlight words. So we are currently in the now stage, and working very hard on getting our new version of Mahara up and running, which we will publish by the end of April. Mahara will look quite different from what it looks at the moment, because we are doing a major usability revamp, refresh of the platform. in order to make workflows easier to follow and also to bring back more consistency in the platform. Because, of course, over the years, we've added lots of new functionality. We experimented a lot with different interfaces, and you can appreciate over the course of 20 years, of course, the internet and how we navigate the web has changed quite a bit. And so we, of course, have also been innovating along with the rest of the world. And now we just wanted to take a step back and see, okay, how can we bring all of that back into a more cohesive way of looking at it, to then also make it easier for learners and instructors to navigate the platform and also take advantage of what is currently the preferred practice in navigating complex platforms like Mahara, because we do offer a lot of functionality. So that is kind of a bit of our main focus until the end of April. But beyond that, so everything that is in the next and in the later stages, we have a lot of ideas of what can be put into the portfolios, how we can further enhance the experience, and also look into the integration of AI, look into visualizing content more, look more also into pushing more parts of the platform to a mobile app, in order to support offline portfolio processes more, especially in remote areas or where students might have trouble just having internet access all the time, so that we can really truly support learning also away from a computer or away from the internet more than we can already right now. But at the moment, it is already possible to take your smartphone, put Mahara Mobile on it, if you have a Mahara instance, and take photos, write journal entries, collect videos and audio, do all of that offline. So do all of your creation and collection activities, and then you upload it just into your portfolio platform, where you can then do the creation. And that allows you to collect the learning evidence and also reflect on the learning while it is still fresh, rather than always having hindsight. And so if you have any questions for the roadmap, I'm happy to discuss items on it and expand on that more. But now, since many of you are in the egg and especially also in the caterpillar stage, I do want to share a whole bunch of resources with you that could be either a starting point for you, or maybe you already know some of those resources, but not others, and can continue with your exploration of portfolios. And so one easy resource would be my monthly newsletter. It comes out on the first Wednesday of each month, where I share short items about portfolio practice, in particular also about Mahara, where we'll also have event announcements, so that if you're interested in learning more, you can just pop in there and get a little bit of learning. The next resource is the one that Isa had already mentioned earlier. If you want to talk to a person and want to ask questions, you and the Pukunui team might still be asleep, you can come along to one of our Ask Me Anything sessions that we hold on a monthly basis for Mahara, and talk directly with our Mahara team. So if you have any questions for Mahara, or just want to talk something through, or want to get inspiration of what other people are doing, please do feel free to come along to those live sessions. We are not recording them, so that if there's anything slightly more confidential that people want to talk about, or show an example of a portfolio where they have a question, then that can be done. And I also have a podcast. It's called Create, Share, Engage, and it is available on all audio podcast apps like Spotify or Apple Podcasts, and any of Overcast and any of those other platforms, where I have interviews with portfolio practitioners around the world. Currently, we are on episode 86, so it comes out every other week with a new story. And in the podcast, there are so many examples of very varied use of portfolios, from your kind of standard using it in nursing or teaching, all the way to hearing that people use portfolios also in forestry, musicology, or also engineering, or in chemistry at the school level, for example. And so all of these stories are stories, and portfolio practitioners reflect on what they have learned over the years, and they are very willing to share all their experiences with the rest of the community so that we can all learn from them what has worked from them. And so there's talk about assessment portfolios, about showcase portfolios, using portfolios for internships and the like. So there's something hopefully for everybody. And we are going to continue having conversations with people on the podcast and sharing their stories. And then there's more free resources, number of publications that have been produced over the last few years. So with Enable, the Association for Authentic, Experiential, and Evidence-Based Learning, we've created digital ethics principles that can be a guideline for portfolio use. So we have 10 principles altogether that cover a wide range of digital ethics concerns that pop up when we are working with sometimes very personal stories of students or learners, and want to share them. We are looking at privacy, diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, and decolonization. We are looking at support, where is data stored, and all of those things. And then there's other resources on there as well that are all free, so that you might get bit more insight into certain areas of portfolio practice. And then if you do want to get in touch with me, here are my contact details. And I'd love to hear more of what you're doing with portfolios, what you'd like to be able to do with them, and any other questions you might have. So I do see a question in the chat, so I will just quickly read that. But now I have the invitation to you, because we still have about 10 to 12 minutes in the session to ask any of your questions, if you like.
Thank you so much. Yeah, go ahead, participants. You can, turn on your mic if you would like to, or you can just type in your questions in the chat next to it. That's very insightful presentation, Christina, and it reminds me of when we start doing using portfolio the last time with the students. The aim is actually to make sure that they achieve the higher level of HOTS. So with portfolio and Mahara, coming on board to help us, that was in 2014. We can actually have all those activities and get them to reflect. The reflection itself is a higher order thinking skills activity, and hence the reason why it's very good for assessment, and also of course for learning portfolio. And not many students are able to do a proper reflection, and it actually something that they have to be trained, and they need to keep on doing to master that. That skills is a skills on its own, from my opinion. So yeah, it reminds me when you mentioned about 5 C's. It really reminds me of all the sets of how we start off doing reflection, and of course to compile it into an e-portfolio. So yeah, the question from Dr. Tan, would you like to me to read it out, or would you like to have a look?
I think it'll be good if I just quickly read it so that we do have it more easily on the recording, because it's a wonderful question. Thank you so much for it. Just trying to find where my mouse is. In the meantime, I also put in the link directly to the slides so that you can navigate them yourself. But the question is, recently, we have had a field visit to food industry. The students were asked to write their reflection report based on a template in a Word file, and then the students submitted it in a PDF file in eLearn, which I assume is the Moodle site.
Yes, it's a Moodle site.
Thank you for confirming. I'm not sure if this report can be imported into Mahara or the students need to redo by copy and pasting their content into Mahara. Very good question. And further down is a clarification. Their reflection report is an assessment in one of the modules. Yes. Thank you so much for the question. That is kind of where we come in from. If you're thinking about writing a report, pushing it into Moodle for assessment versus creating it as an e-portfolio, that the benefit of creating it in a portfolio comes not from the just publishing the PDF, because then that happens outside of the portfolio anyway. And just if you need to have a PDF report, then it would be easier just to use the assignment in eLearn and push it there. But if you, for example, wanted your students to be able to create the report throughout a period of, say, 1 or even 2 or 3 or 4 weeks, and gradually populate the report based on the experiences that they've had, and then also share images or videos in particular, because of course in a report you can put images already into a PDF file. And also, if you wanted students to have a bit more creative freedom around their reports and what they wanted to put into the portfolio. So it can still be a template, but it could be a template with the headings for the individual report sections, and then students provide text narrative, provide a reflection. You can provide the questions, the reflective questions directly on the portfolio page, and they can also add supporting evidence and are free to arrange it on the page. Because essentially with the portfolio, when it is an electronic one, what they're doing is really creating a mini website with very simple tools so that they do not need to know a lot about creating web pages. Then we have a second question. For any submission to be done by students, what is the maximum file size to be uploaded? Because in the past, they recall that it was 250 megabytes. That is entirely up to the organization. So Mahara itself does not limit the file size. So for some of our clients, we have enabled it for 1 gigabyte or 6 gigabyte uploads of individual files. Others have it smaller and also have a quota limit for the students, just also to prevent that excessively large files are shared. Because if you upload a file that somebody needs to view, then the viewer also, especially if it's a large file, needs to have a very good internet connection in order just to download it. So if you have an image that is only displayed this small, so just maybe 400 pixels by 300 pixels, but the student uploads it in a one format, then that is a bit too much always to download. And so we can already automatically scale down images. And for videos, it would be best to put them on video sharing sites that an institution might have to take advantage of rates. And if you do upload a video to Mahara, then it might be good to have that a bit downsampled. Mahara seems like a block for each student to reflect and increase visibility. Yes, that it can be used as a block. We do have a journaling functionality included, but it also goes beyond the blogging functionality that we can also share content more also in lists or have continuing professional development activities listed, which is not so easy maybe to do in a regular journal entry, because then you need to create a table yourself, you need to format it. Whereas if you use built-in functionality within Mahara, then we provide the infrastructure and also do the calculation for you, so that if you if you have a whole bunch of CPD hours, then we sum them up automatically. We can also categorize them to make it easier to display them. Public able to view it, yes. So we have a whole permissions framework in Mahara. If you're looking at Moodle, typically your Moodle courses or your e-learn courses are available for the students that are enrolled. In some cases, you might have guest access, and that's typically the extent that a learning management system allows access to a course. For the portfolio, it is not the instructor who decides who shall have access to the portfolio, but it is the learner. And so the learner can decide, so if, let's say I'm the learner, I can decide, do I want to share my portfolio only with Isa? Then I can do that. Or if we were all here in our webinar group, if we created a group in Mahara, I can decide I only want to share my portfolio with you. Then anybody who's not in today's session will not have access to it. But I can also decide, like we are going to do with the slides and also the recording, that everybody should have access to it, that it is just public, and anybody who stumbles upon it or searches for it can get to it. So every learner has the possibility to decide with whom they want to share their portfolio and also for how long. So I can also put a time limit on that. And I can also already set up my portfolio today and say immediately I want to share that portfolio with Isa, but Isa should only get access in a month to that portfolio, and then automatically within a month, when the date comes, Isa will have access and I don't need to do anything. So that is in a way similar to how you also work in Moodle/eLearn, enable course start and end dates, so that you do not need to get up at midnight or be still up in order to open a course for students. And so with the portfolio, you also have quite a few access controls, actually more, I find, than within the learning management system, because we can make things public and we can also restrict things. When students share their portfolio with me as a person, why can everybody in the group still view and edit it? How can I make it visible only to the shared person or selected people? That is something where I would need to look at the permissions of the portfolio and also where was the portfolio created. It sounds like the portfolio was created in a group, and then because typically when a portfolio is created in a group, every group member has access to it. There are possibilities of restricting it. So I would just need to have a quick look at it and see where it is, what the permissions are, in order to know why that is happening. So we have a couple more minutes left. Maybe one final question, if there's one, before Isa tells us a little bit more of what the next, what you can do with Pukunui and how you can continue the conversation.
Yeah, can I ask a question? It's been with me for so long, actually. One of the TVET institution would like to use portfolio and it's Mahara portfolio, but they have this one condition of which whenever that the students submit their learning portfolio, that is more of the showcase portfolio. They need to submit that to a few. There are a few layers that of assessors. So they have to send to the first supervisor, and then the next one is manager, and then coming back to supervisor to anticipate the marks. I know that with the recent update of Moodle 4.5 and above, we do have the assessment where we can have all these markers, call it markers, to and send the assignment to different markers. So if we integrate Mahara with Moodle and do that activity, will that be able to perform as per the assignment is?
Yes, so if your Moodle assignment allows for a marking workflow and reassignment of markers, then Mahara will support that. You're doing that with a different learning management system, where there's also reassigning and status changes of the portfolio marking workflow included. And so that is definitely supported, because when you connect Mahara to Moodle, especially I would recommend the Mahara assignment submission plugin, because that fully integrates Mahara into the assignment, and then you can use many of the assignment features that are included in Moodle. And that is then use it with rubrics, use it with feedback comments, marker allocation. And because really, instead of uploading a file into the assignment, you put a link to the portfolio into the gradebook that then a marker can click. And so if you then reassign the marking of that item, that creatable item, to somebody else, then that other person will be able to see the link and click it and leave feedback comments. So yes, that would work.
Oh, that's great. We do have two more questions. Yeah. Does Mahara portfolio encourage multiple users to collaboratively edit a single portfolio, maybe for group work assignment?
Yes, we have the possibility for that, because you can set up groups in Mahara and then people can work together on a portfolio. And currently there's actually, and that is also on the roadmap, currently we have work in progress that is sponsored by Dublin City University to make group assignment submission into Moodle possible. Because currently only students can individually submit their portfolios into Moodle, but it will be possible to also create a portfolio as a group and then submit that as a group assignment into Moodle, so that one person submits it and 4 people will be graded. And last question, do you have any plans to enhance Mahara with AI features in the future? Yes, we do have ideas. Currently, we don't have extremely concrete plans, because we are wanting to get Mahara 2604 out with the redesign, and then we can look further into AI parts. But we have had conversations over the last 2.5 years with projects, in particular in Germany, that look into analyzing portfolios, in particular text analysis, but the University of Bremen also looks into multimodal artifact analysis, so that we are looking into the research that they have been doing and seeing how could that be integrated into Mahara. Is that something that is also of interest to others? So we will definitely have more conversations around that in the future. In the past, I've talked quite a bit about a reflection bot riff and the possibilities there for guided reflections, and if that is something that people would be interested in for us to also provide within Mahara. And the very last question, second question, is possibilities for integration with Mahara more seamlessly within Moodle. We do have the Moodle assignment submission plugin that allows us a very seamless integration as well as also regular LTI connection to allow for single sign-on and people moving seamlessly between the two platforms. So Arnold, if you would like to have a closer conversation around what seamless integration would look like for you, what is currently missing, then I'd love to follow up with you and Isa on that so that we can see what your requirements are, because usually features make it into Mahara because somebody asks a question. Somebody has an idea of what they would like to be able to achieve, what they currently can't. And then we look into what are the possibilities, does that work for portfolio practice, and how can we make that happen? Thank you so much, everybody.
Yep, that's great. Of course, we'll mark your calendars soon, perhaps, and I'll get contact with Arnold and also get in touch with Christina for this to further discuss on this. Any further questions? Any other questions from the participants? Anything else you'd like to ask? There are a few people that have left, and they thank you for the sessions, Christina, and I'm sure that they have something else to do. It's a busy day, I'm sure. But yeah, I second them that this has been a very good session. It's a short session. It's only 1 hour, but we managed to get quite a meaningful information about Mahara e-portfolio from you. So thank you so much for sharing your sharing with us today, Christina. Before we leave the session, right, I would like to share, I'm sharing the screen if you guys can see my screen right now. So today's session with Mahara is actually the first webinar for this year, and Pukunui, we are actually intended to have at least once a month session, on the pedagogical side, if not the technological side. So we welcome everyone. If you have any topics that you would like to share, or if you want to become our speakers, or you want to collaborate with us. So for today, we thank Christina on the from Mahara for being the first speaker for our webinar in 2026. And next in February, we'll have another speaker, and that it will be under with Compilatio. You have heard about Compilatio before. Some of you might not have heard this. And there's a question about AI just now. And I'm sure that once we have Mahara integrated with the assignment, and if we have Mahara in AI version, and I'm sure the next question is, how can we prove that this is actually the students' work, or how can this be proven as the thought by the students themselves? So and that session will be with Compilatio next month on the 27th. So do check out our webpage. I will share the link with you later on. And that's QR is actually for today's participants. Please feel free to to give your feedback on today's webinar, so that I can do better in the next round. Once again, thank you so much, everyone, for your time and participation today. And of course, to our speaker today, Christina, hope to see you guys again one day. Would you like to have a photo taken? If anyone wants to have a photo taken, I would like to have that. Can we have a photo session for a while? Can we just have a short photo session? Everyone to turn on their camera. Yeah, thank you so much, Anna, for joining us. Hi, Dr. Nazar. Yep, thanks, Vinny. Vinny, would you like to take photo with us, all of us today? Hi, Zach. Let me adjust the view. We'll go on tile. There you go. Oh, okay, Dr. Tan, no worries. All right, if everyone's ready, the other one is my account. So Okay, in 3, 2, 1. Okay, one more time. Sorry. In 3, 2, 1. Okay, that's good. All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. And hope to see you guys soon. Bye. Have a nice day.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Assalamualaikum. Have a nice day.
Isa, do you want to stop the recording?
Yeah, I will. Oh, yeah, I will stop the recording.